There was a rumble, then a rise, and now a resounding roar. From the streets to the stands, there's an unstoppable, undeniable energy rooted in the Queen City's rich heritage and built with the hearts and hands of our own community. We are united through the joy of sport, relentless in our pursuit, fearless in our vision. We're in this together, crossing bridges, banding neighborhoods, first-timers to seasoned diehards. Here, everyone is welcome. The passion is palpable, the camaraderie contagious, and the pride unrivaled. Echoing through the 7 hills of our city, we'll continue our commitment to carve our own path, to elevate Cincinnati, and to keep rising.
Three days after MLS Cup, all eyes are on 2019, all eyes are on FC Cincinnati. The 2018 expansion draft is today in, about 10 minutes. I'm Andrew Wiebe, this is Kalen Carr, Bobby Warshar here. We've got all 5 picks coming for you. The president and GM of FC Cincinnati, Jeff Berding, is here, as well as head coach Alan Koch. They will be speaking with Susanna Collins. Today is a huge day. Today is the day that we officially begin the transfer from 2018 to 2019. Kalen, what are you looking for? What does today mean for FC Cincinnati?
Yeah, well, we turn the page on the party that was Atlanta and look ahead and focus squarely on FC Cincinnati, and deservedly so, because this is going to be one of the more exciting teams in MLS. I was out there for their announcement with Susanna Collins. I remember standing at the announcement at a beer hall with Luke Sassano, their technical director, former MLS player. You couldn't move. It was that exciting, and it shows you a little bit of how much fun this team is going to be having in MLS.
The expansion draft might not be the most important part of building an MLS Cup winning team, but it is important. You do need to get pieces out of today to go ahead and become a good Major League Soccer team. And guys, I played in Cincinnati. I played in front of that wild crowd. And if this team is good, if this team puts an exciting product on the field, they're going to light MLS up.
How'd you do? Did you get a win?
Come on, no.
No comment from Bobby Warshaw. 11 players currently signed for FC Cincinnati, most of those coming from the USL side. Do they get an opportunity to get that group a little bit bigger, maybe make some deals, get some assets? Because remember, today is not just about the 5 players coming in, perhaps some of those going out. Here's your offseason schedule as it stands. Free agency begins today, so keep an eye on MLSsoccer.com for that. Waiver draft, re-entry draft, stage 1 and 2. The transfer window opens internationally on January 1st, and of course the super draft is going down on January 11th with the combine before that one. Here are your rules. FC Cincinnati can select up to 5 players. A club cannot lose more than 1 player, so if a player is selected, that club is out. 11 players can be protected. GAs, homegrowns, they don't have to be. And remember, the 5 teams that had players selected in 2017 with LAFC, Columbus Crew, San Jose, Seattle, Sporting Kansas City, and Toronto are exempt. They will not have a player selected today. But any player that is selected, that team will get $50,000 in allocation money, guys. This is an assets play in large part, and that's what it's been in years past. It's an opportunity to maybe get some starters, maybe get some depth pieces, but maybe also make some trades that improve your team in a different way.
Yeah, well, in years past, this list was 10, 12 deep. There'd be a ton of players that were picked. Now you've seen it shrink down, and it goes towards some valuable players that have been overlooked or underappreciated in other markets, and also assets, because LAFC did a fantastic job last year. I was out there for that, and look, they were able to get 3 starters and then able to flip a couple other picks to get Lawrence Simon, who played a big part in their early success. So I think we'll see a similar type thing from FC Cincinnati today, where some pieces will stay and also some pieces will be moved as well to try and bring in some experience.
I'm looking forward to seeing how many teams are involved in everything that takes place today. This is not just an FC Cincinnati event. There are going to be multiple teams who get brought in via trades, who get brought in via having their players taken. Andrew, you mentioned the $50,000 in general allocation money if your player doesn't get selected. I wonder how many teams want that money. I wonder how many teams left a player unprotected who maybe they didn't pick up his option and they say, yeah, we'll take the cash. Go ahead, guys.
Here's Atlanta. They just won MLS Cup, and this was an important part of their building process. They took advantage of every single mechanism. Donny Toya eventually became Julian Gressel via the draft. Mikey Ambrose, a reserve player. Alec Khan, a native, a backup goalkeeper for them. But this was an opportunity for Atlanta, Bobby, to make a huge move right off the bat.
And they nailed it. #1 pick. They take Donnie Toya, and you see this guy right here because we just saw him in MLS Cup, and he was one of Atlanta's best players throughout the historic season this year. And it just goes to show that no matter who they take today, no matter who Cincinnati selects, it's up to them to find a way to get value out of it in the multitude of options.
And Alec Kahn helped bridge the gap before Brad Guzan came into the team, had so much success at Bobby Dodd Stadium. So some of that for expansion teams are about who can help you right now because they're going to continue to build this roster as it
Here's what Minnesota did in 2016. Chris Duval flipped. Of course, they got Johan Venegas for him. Colin Warner, he was a part that they've used a bunch. A cheap veteran central midfielder, Mohamed Saeed, flipped for Sam Cronin, Mark Birch. Jeff Attinella from RSL. They got Miguel Ibarra's rights with that. And that speaks once again to the fact that you're looking a little bit longer. There's some game theory here. It's not necessarily about the player you're taking, but the player you might get for that player.
We be throwing out game theory here, man.
Hey,
Didn't see that one coming today.
You needed Miguel Ibarra back if you were Minnesota. You had to give up value to do it, and that's why they traded Jeff Attinella. And then Femi Hollinger-Jansen, he was traded for Bobby Shuttleworth, who was their starting goalkeeper. So Minnesota found some starters in this one, Kayla.
Yeah, and Attinella was a player that was exactly undervalued and behind Nick Raimondo, right? And now look what he just did, had a great performance in MLS Cup, didn't end up winning it. But those are the types of players that if Cincinnati is doing their homework, they'll be able to recognize their value and maybe just left off the 11 list just because there may be someone else ahead of them.
Cincinnati definitely doing their homework, by the way. We have a green room back there. I was trying to iron my shirt before the show. I couldn't get in there because there were so many phone calls going down. So this should be a very interesting expansion draft. We are just a couple minutes away from the first pick for FC Cincinnati, but I just want to remind everyone at home what a whirlwind ride this has been. You think back to 2015, this team was formed then. It's only been 3.5 years to get to this point. That's absolutely incredible. You see the timeline here. It's been extremely special for soccer in Cincinnati over that span.
Well, when you look at the growth of the sport in North America, I mean, this has been one of the best stories of the last 3 years, really. I mean, you see that you could not ignore FC Cincinnati. From the crowds that have been out there, I went out this summer, it was a rainy Wednesday night, 25,000. I was like, wow, this is before MLS. I got on a plane back. Everybody was talking about it. It's one of those things where Cincinnati is a young city, right? And there's so many people that have moved there because it is such a great place to live and a passionate soccer culture. That's really, we saw it in Atlanta. I think you'll see that similar passion in Cincinnati.
Because I want to rewind to 3 years ago because I was sitting on a couch with a couple of friends that I had played with and against in MLS, and they were out of contract, and we're talking what they're going to do next year, and they said, yeah, I had the Cincinnati team email me. They want to offer me a deal. And I remember sitting on that couch and going, Cincinnati as a team? Do you really want to sign for a club that doesn't have players? You don't know what they're going to be? And they're like, dude, they promise it's going to be awesome. They're making a push for Major League Soccer. And I said, I wouldn't do it if I were you, but go for it. Here they are, 3 years later, 25,000 every single game. They made the right choice, obviously.
Well, it's cool to see there's a couple guys still involved, too. Corbin Bone, a guy I played with in Chicago. He's really made a new career for himself, got signed on to the team. Omar Cummings, Cincinnati guy, went to University of Cincinnati, still involved in community development there. So they've done everything the right way so far.
11 players signed from that USL team that had so much success. If you need a jogging point, how did this all happen? Here are the last 3.5 years boiled down in about 45 seconds.
FC Cincinnati says there will be a significant announcement on Tuesday about the future of soccer in the city.
That's the same language MLS used in other cities before awarding franchises.
Nice to see you. How are you? Yeah, it's great. Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations, Jeff.
See, Cincinnati originally tabbed Oakley for a new stadium location, but Major League Soccer wanted a more urban site. So FCC went to the West End and was able to get neighborhood approval in return for several $1 million worth of community programs. FC Cincinnati's self-financed $200 million facility will be soccer-specific.
And then this is where we can work with the county to put a 1,000-car garage and some development around it.
It shows that we're a city on the rise. It shows that we're a city that outpunches its weight class. And the opportunity to be a part of the world's game at the highest level is obviously a very big deal for Cincinnati. And we hit this tipping point where we just became the thing to do in Cincinnati. And I think part of that is just because we embrace the community, the notion that professional sports teams have an obligation to lead. to inspire, to bring people together. Not every team wants to embrace that responsibility, but we embrace it from the start, and what you've seen over the last 3 years is how we got here.
This is the moment that you've all been waiting for, and we have been anticipating for so long. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to announce that Cincinnati, Ohio is officially granted the newest expansion club in Major League Soccer. Welcome, FC Cincinnati.
We all came together, worked for something that's bigger than us. And we're here today because of that connection and that common goal. We're all excited to be part of Major League Soccer's tremendous future that's ahead. FC Cincinnati is a portrait of the city, the pride, the passion, the love.
Sports has this powerful place in our culture to unite people, to bring people together, to create human connections with one another around our passion for our sports and for our city.
After your club has been launched and playing many years, you're going to remember this day as a truly historic event for the Queen City, for FC Cincinnati, for Major League Soccer, and for soccer in North America.
We are embracing a new city and a new future. And as we listen to each other, there was one group that was ahead of all of us, and that was the fan base of FCC.
And right now it is my absolute pleasure to be joined by FC Cincinnati President and General Manager, Mr. Jeff Berding. Jeff, first of all, I have to give you some mad props.
Thank you.
On this ensemble today. Color coordinated.
Try to wear the colors.
You fit
Sport
perfectly
the FC
with our
brand
set here. You look magnificent. Okay, I've been watching you all morning, working the phones. You've been huddled up in that green room. Just a crazy busy day for you guys. What are you hoping to get out of today?
Well, we have some great building blocks that have come forward with us from our winning USL team. But today's about getting dynamic players, starters, guys that are proven in the league, guys that are hungry, guys that want to play in front of 25 to 30,000 people every game in front of some of the best fans in America. Such a successful USL campaign, but now you're entering MLS. What has that transition been like? Well, it's obviously been enormously busy, but in Cincinnati, we're not afraid of hard work. It's been a lot of fun. When we created FC Cincinnati in 2015, we said right out front, we have a major league ambition. We were determined to earn our way. We've had a phenomenal 3 years, and this has really been, the capstone to that audition is to be able to build this team, a very exciting team, to take place in 2019 in Major League Soccer. You talk about building this team. We see a lot of USL guys already on the roster. How important is that for you in shaping the identity of this club? Well, our players that have been with us have built our club. They understand the culture of our club, that we want to be a winning team, a family-friendly club, visible in the community, great with the fans. They understand our city, they understand our coach and our system, and they've been winners. And so we felt that those were the most important building blocks. And then today we obviously start the process of bringing on a lot of terrific players on top. Well, another huge part of that, the man in charge, Alan Koch, 2018 USL Coach of the Year. Why is he the right man for the job? Well, he's been a winner everywhere he's been. If you look at the partnership that we've had, he's really helped us create FC Cincinnati and where we are today. And we had that great Open Cup run. We had a championship record-setting season in the USL. And he has an MLS background with Vancouver. And he's been a great partner every step of the way. And he's also really not afraid of hard work. Well, it's almost go time. We're ready. Start making picks. Can you give us a little insight into the strategy here today? Sure. So obviously we're going to have a very athletic, a very dynamic club. Again, we like guys with chips on their shoulder, with something to prove. Obviously there's a lot of different ways you could build the puzzle to bring all these pieces and to help make them fit. And in some cases, some of these picks, the best value is to help use those as assets to bring other guys in. In other cases, these are exactly the guys that we want that are going to get key part of the team for this year and hopefully into the future.
It's going to be a busy day. Jeff, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
All right, cool. Look, 11 players right now on the FC Cincinnati roster. Alan Koch will be here in just a second to start making these expansion draft picks. You can see you've got the USL Defender of the Year in Forrest Lasso. You've got the MVP as well in Emmanuel Ledesma. This is a team that has some quality, that has some depth already, but they still have so much work to do, guys.
Yeah, they're gonna have to add some pieces for sure. But I like what you just Berding said there, just about understanding the culture of the city and having a winning mentality, because this is an expansion team, but this club means something to these players already. And when I look back at the most successful teams that have made this transition from USL to MLS, you look at Seattle Sounders, right? It reminds me a little bit of that with Roger Levesque and Taylor Graham and Zach Scott and some of those guys that were a part of those winning Seattle teams that have made the transition to MLS. And yes, they went off and signed some bigger name signings as well, but those guys, that core, still had a lot to say about that team.
When you look at that roster and you think about how an MLS team needs to be built, you need the high-end stars. You need the Miguel Almirones, obviously. But somewhere in the middle of your team, you do need domestic leadership. You need guys who understand the travel, that understand the fields, understand the league. It's not just true about Major League Soccer. It's true about every league around the world. And a lot of the times in the expansion draft, for Atlanta United, for example, or LAFC, who didn't have a team to bring up, they use the expansion draft to find those middle-of-the-roster players. But Cincinnati already has them. They already have 8 to 10 of those guys who can fill those types of roles within a team. So going into their picks right now, look for them to either get assets for value or maybe high-end players, which potentially more risk, but also bring more reward in the end.
One of the interesting things about the league right now is that the depth of talent has expanded, with TAM coming in with more investment. So you see more talent available in the expansion draft, which we are on the brink of the #1 pick for FC Cincinnati. Here it goes. The building of this roster. #1, we are about to find out. And I throw it to you, Susanna Collins with head coach.
I know. It's so exciting. All right, before we get to it now, just how important is today for you in shaping this roster?
It's huge. It's obviously one mechanism that we have at our disposal to acquire players or acquire assets or do pieces of business to obviously bring players in. And the 5 players we're going to announce today are all fulfill different categories within that. So I think people always think, well, this is the player and who's going to come play for you. There's different mechanisms within each player and obviously different reasons as to why we're picking each player.
All right, well, let's get to it. Tell us who your #1 pick is.
First pick is Darren Maddox.
Darren Maddox of DC United. Now, this is a 28-year-old Jamaican international player. What do you like about his game? He's someone that we've seen some flashes from at his time in DC. Has a lot of offensive firepower. What do you like about him?
Speed, athleticism. I think he plays with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think he's capable of even more than he showed in the league so far. And he's just a fun, exciting player. I think anybody who's ever been in a stadium and seen Darren play and see how he works, he's an electric player. There's sheer athleticism, and he's shown he can score goals, obviously, in the league and score goals for his national team, too.
Great. Let's get the guys' take.
All right, guys. Darren Maddox. We saw him be the starter last year with DC United. Before Wayne Rooney arrived, he wanted more playing time. Perhaps that's now to come with FC Cincinnati. He's got 34 goals and 11 assists in 7 years in MLS, but it's a career high last year. 10 goals for DC in just 14 starts. What do you make of this one?
10 goals on a team where he didn't really fit the system, I think, is pretty impressive. And I think DC wanted to go a different direction as far as with Acosta and Rooney and some of these guys, and he found himself on the outside looking in. And so, to me, this is a perfect example of a player that may not suit one system, but could really help in another. And when you hear Cox there talk about dynamic, athletic, well, there's no one in MLS almost that can keep up with Darren Maddox.
Well, you got to add the last part of that. We like guys with chips on their shoulders. That's Darren Maddox, guys. It'll be interesting to see how it works with that when they already have Fernando Adi on the team. But Maddox, as we said, is a guy who can really light up this league.
A center striker, probably lone up top. You talked about the athleticism. He can jump over people. He's shown us that in the past. Darren Maddox, the first pick of the 2018 MLS expansion draft to FC Cincinnati. It's time for #2. Susanna, back to you.
All right. Give it to us now, #2.
Second pick is Kai Kamara, but we will be trading him to Colorado.
Okay, we had just discussed. We see Darren Maddox up top, Fernando Adi. This is clearly a piece that you're looking to kind of move and make some room. What do you guys think?
Are you sure we can't get you to keep Adi, Maddox, and Kai Kamara as a front three? There's nothing we can do to help.
You know what? As much as I like all three of those players, it'd be very, very difficult to manage all three within any system. So.
There you have it. The assets play for FC Cincinnati. Kai Kamara to the Colorado Rapids, guys. Speaking to Porg Smith earlier today, he said, look, this is a guy that we wanted. We went out and got a goal scorer for us, a 2-year deal for him. He says, TAM player, took a slight pay cut to go to Colorado. What do you make of this? Obviously, the assets going back to FC Cincinnati as they build.
Well, yeah, we talked before about some players you really like and value, and you're going to step right in and play, and then some where you can trade. Well, Kai's a very valuable asset in this league. I believe 14 goals last season.
17 all comps.
Okay, excuse me.
Yeah.
Respect to Kai. Yeah. But so he's still got a lot left. I think Vancouver was looking to maybe move on. I know Kai stepped out of the free agency as well to be able to be a part of this. So I think it's a good move for FC Cincinnati, a good move for Colorado, shows some ambition, gives them somebody at the front of their attack as well. So, hey, this is one of those things that maybe works for everybody.
Of everyone that was available on the entire list, Kai Kamara has the most overall ability. If they could find a way, which they did, to somehow get his ability and flip him, that might have been the best option they had of every player available.
All right, 2 picks in, 2 center forwards, Darren Maddox and Kai Kamara, who's been traded to the Colorado Rapids. It's time for pick number 3. Back to Susanna.
Number 3. All right, Alan, give it to us.
Roland Lamar.
Roland Lamar of Dallas midfielder, left winger. How do you see him fitting in on this roster?
Also another electric player, obviously very skilled, very, very good 1v1. He can beat players inside, he can beat players on the outside. Obviously a guy who's got a lot of experience all over the place, and obviously with a new team we need experience in our squad.
Guys, your reaction?
All right, Roland Lamar, 2018, 8 goals, 6 assists. 2017, 11 goals, 3 assists. Scored in bunches for FC Dallas. You look at that midfield. He's another talented, experienced piece. One of those guys, if you're looking for starters, this definitely feels like that sort of pick.
Absolutely. No, he's a starter for me. I mean, he was one of the more dangerous parts of Dallas's attack from the width. And Cincinnati has a lot of strong pieces up the middle, but now you're starting to see them with a real weapon on the outside, because he contributed not just defensively, but able to get forward and really chip in with goals.
What you often see around the league are players, and you watch them play, and you go, I know that guy has more ability than he's showing. For whatever reason, maybe it's the system, maybe it's whatever his family life is at home in that city, and Roland Lamar fit into that category. When you watch him play, he's a guy that has all the tools you want, but never played up to that potential in Dallas. So if you're a team trying to go out and find undervalued assets in this league, he would have been on that list.
In the midfield now, Nazmi Aboudawi, 27, 11 goals last year. Corbin Bone, 12 goals last year in USL. Emmanuel Ledesma, the MVP of the league. Jimmy McLaughlin, and now Roland Lamar. That is the 3rd pick. Darren Maddox, Kai Kamara, traded to Colorado. And then, of course, Roland Lamar at the 3rd pick for FC Cincinnati in the 2018 MLS expansion draft. Let's keep it going. It's time for number 4. Back to Susanna.
Number 4. All right, Alan, who you got?
Eric Alexander.
Eric Alexander. All right, this is a player. How do you see him fitting into your?
Well, I think Eric obviously has league experience. He's done it at a few different clubs, but I also think he's been undervalued. I think everybody you speak to about him in the different clubs that he's played for always speaks volumes about him, and his versatility is immense, obviously, as we're trying to build a squad. So I think he's somebody who can come and compete to start for us right away, but obviously his experience in a bunch of different places is going to obviously help him in this transition coming to another new club.
Lots of veteran presence here. Guys, what do you make of this one?
Yeah, versatility is the word here. And Bobby, I believe you've played with Eric Alexander.
I played with him, and I heard the word undervalued there. And we knew when that he was undervalued in 11, 12, and 13, but we also thought that he wasn't in the league at the right time. That he had all the technical ability, all the possession ability, but he was in the league when he was a little faster, a little more aggressive. And we used to say, when this league slows down, when this league becomes more about skill, that Eric Alexander would be one of the guys to take advantage of that and become much more important, which perhaps is what we're going to see.
And when you build a roster, you want versatility, and this guy is the picture of that. I mean, if you look at 2 years ago in that series against Portland, he was one of the more impressive pieces in the center of midfield for Houston Dynamo, and then this last season ended up playing a large stretch of the season at right back. So he can play a couple different positions for you. Just a very intelligent player, has great quality on the ball, and a good guy to have in the locker room.
Yeah, in that 4-2-3-1, you could see him potentially playing 3 different spots for this FC Cincinnati team. Eric Alexander has been with Dallas, Portland, New York, Montreal, Houston, now FC Cincinnati. 4 picks in, 1 to go. Back to Susanna Collins for the final pick.
The 5th and final pick. Alan, who will it be?
Hassan Ndam.
Hassan Ndam. This is a 20-year-old Cameroonian defender. Spent some time with the New York Red Bulls. We heard Jeff speak about, he's a guy who has a lot of experience in USL and how important that has been in sort of shaping the identity of your roster. Was that something you guys considered in this pick?
I've coached against him. I've seen what he's capable of doing. And obviously doing it at the USL is completely different than doing it in MLS, but he's a young player. He's a player who's got all sorts of upside. And we think he's capable of coming into our environment, competing right away. And we're excited to work with him and push him and help him achieve his goals.
Great, guys.
Hassan Ndam, 2 years in USL with the New York Red Bulls, signed for the first team, but made most of his appearances in USL. The big one, I think, are his performances against FC Cincinnati. He scored his first goal against Cincinnati, and then in the playoffs this year had a very, very good performance.
All these highlights are goals. He even got on a penalty. I was surprised to see that. But this is one of the benefits of being a USL team transitioning to MLS, because you get firsthand experience with some players that you might not have otherwise, where you can see how he matches up with the Fernando Adi. Can he compete against MLS experience? And he clearly proved something to him.
And his one MLS start, I believe this year, was against NYCFC, when he basically shut down David Villa. They played a young back line, and Ndam was great in that game. So there are data points that are really that you'd like to see here.
And 20 years old.
Yeah, just 20 years old. This is a play for the future. You see him start to come into his own this year, get his feet right, get his mind right, get a little bit more mature. Perhaps a guy that you look at and say he's going to grow in to a starting role with FC Cincinnati. So we now have all 5 picks in the 2018 MLS Super Draft. You've got Darren Maddox to FC Cincinnati, Kai Kamara chosen, flipped to the Colorado Rapids, then of course Eric Alexander, Hassan Ndam, and I'm blanking on the 4th one right now. Help me out, guys.
Who else do we get? Do we get Roland Lamont?
Roland Lamont.
Roland Lamont.
There you go.
What do you make of this? What do you think?
I've been quite complimentary of every pick so far, and I think it's just. Ooh, excuse me. I think they've got good value, and when they describe the way they want to play, it fits that, right? Guys that have a chip on their shoulder, that can get up and down and go, and I think overall they've gotten great value. I think the Kai Kamara one, especially, to be able to get someone with that type of profile and flip him for assets, because that's the part of it too, is like you don't not quite, there's 5 names or 4 names there, but some of those Cincinnati may bring in more people later because they were able to get Kai Kamara and then trade him on.
I expected them to trade more. I'm surprised you guys didn't pick players and flip them more. But I see where they're going with this. But I I thought they would try and collect more assets.
Let's go back to Susanna here and Alan. Alan, walk us through this from your perspective.
No, I mean, if that the trades are usually a part. We've seen in the past that being a huge part of the expansion draft. Obviously the Kai Kamara trade. What it went into that, and was it your intention to keep as many players as you could out of this expansion draft?
We wanted to bring in players that fit the profiles that we need, individual position-wise, but obviously guys that fit what we're trying to do as a club too. But obviously, with the Kai situation, be able to do a piece of business that gives us an international spot that will allow us, obviously, to go acquire another player that we need to bring in. But like we said earlier, it's not just about these 5 picks. It's about, obviously, all the other business you can do at the same time, and trades. And we're obviously continually working, but we've got some things done too already.
Can you give us a little peek behind the curtain and when that deal actually was finally done and dusted?
We were still in that room in the back there until a few seconds before we came out. So it's been a non-stop process.
Down to the wire.
I think people obviously see the list, and we were salivating when we saw the list initially, but there's so many things that go into it, obviously, in terms of the contracts, how that works, and obviously different players at different situations too. And we wanted to fit and get 4 players that obviously would work for us. But obviously do a big piece of business to help us acquire somebody else.
How much do you have a contingency plan, a backup plan ready to go in case a deal sort of falls off the table immediately? I mean, how quick do you have to react?
We had layer after layer after layer. So, but no, it's been fun. It's been exciting. It's been stressful. It's been a good experience to go through, and it's helped us get these players, obviously. But obviously, we've also acquired, and I hope I'm okay saying it, but we've acquired Greg Garza today too.
Breaking news!
There it is.
Yes.
I was told, little birdie said it was okay for me to say that. So
well, that is a huge piece to add to that roster. Just won an MLS Cup. That's a little bit of winning experience you're bringing to FC Cincinnati.
Obviously we've seen Greg play a lot. I was in the stadium in Atlanta on Saturday night, and he was outstanding in that one individual game. But it's more than just scouting a guy in one game, obviously. But he's been fantastic. We're excited to bring him in, and obviously he'll play a big part of our group next season.
Yeah, I know these guys are chomping at the bit.
Yeah, we
here.
are. Yeah, we are. $200K in GAM, $250K in TAM. Go to Atlanta United for Greg Garza, 27-year-old American international, 13 caps. He made 37 appearances in 2 years with Atlanta. Injury cut it short this year a little bit, guys, but one of the best attacking left backs in this league. We talk all the time about the positions that are so hard to fill. Center back, left back seem to be two of the most difficult. You go get Greg Garza. What's this mean for FC Cincinnati?
You said one of the best. I think he is the best attacking left back in the league. And when you look at the other piece, they got Lamar. You put those two on the left-hand side and come down and attack. If you're an outside back on the right side in MLS, that's not a pair you'd like to see often. So I think going and getting an MLS Cup winner as well is a part of it, somebody who has experience with the U.S. men's national team, that's a big face for FC Cincinnati fans to really get behind as well. So I really like that pick. It shows some real ambition to get some real pace and attacking flair on the wing.
Bobby, this team is far from fully constructed, but as it stands, as you fill in this depth chart, what do you see?
Well, they're coming out of today with 5 MLS starters, which is what you want. You know, they still don't have probably the highest end players you need to win MLS Cup. We just saw that from Atlanta. We saw it from Portland with Valeri and Blanco. You still need those guys, but what a lot of teams miss is they hit those top players and then they miss 4 through 9 on their starting lineup, and that's what Cincinnati got out of today. Garza is a big pickup. I'm not sure I have him number 1 left back in the league, but top 3, and it's not a deep position in this league.
What's the choice that maybe you were surprised by or most impressed by? What stands out to you? Single pick.
I'll go Eric Alexander. Like what I said at the top of the show was I thought they already had guys like that. I thought when they were bringing in Emmanuel Ledesma and Lasso and some of these USL players that they had that mold of a player, experienced, domestic. But Eric Alexander, it sounds like they're getting him for more than his personality or more than his locker room qualities, that they really feel on the field he can be a leader and drive this team forward.
Thanks for giving me a second to think about it. It's Garza for me because I think
that's a cheat answer. I just want to say.
Okay, well, I like Maddox, but I'm not sure he's necessarily going to be a starter in Cincinnati either. So I think Garza, to me, if I said he was the number 1, you said he was top 3. Either way, if you can acquire a top 3 player in the league at his position, that's the biggest news of the day.
All right, we'll finish here with you, Alan. I want to know what you're most proud of, what you're most happy about, where you go from here.
We've done a lot of work, but we've still got a lot to do. We're not finished, obviously. I'm sure by the time I get back on my phone in a couple seconds, it'll be lit up again. So it's been a lot of work to obviously get to this place. I think we've acquired some great players that are going to fit the way we want to play, but obviously fit our group and the culture too. But we also know we've got a lot more work still to do.
So much work to do. FC Cincinnati with 5 picks, some trades, a lot of moving parts here on this Tuesday as the MLS news cycle goes absolutely crazy. Here you have it. The current roster, Kai Kamara, of course, moving to the Colorado Rapids, but you see Hassan Ndam moving in. Greg Garza at left back. Roland Lama, left wing. Eric Alexander, central midfield. Darren Maddox at striker as well. All right, here are the dates coming up, folks. It's busy. Free agency, it begins today, so make those phone calls. Maybe, Alan, you'll have to pick up the phone for some of those as well. The waiver draft, re-entry stage 1 and stage 2. Transfer window internationally opens on January 1st. We got the MLS Super Draft on January 11th with the Combine before that. A big thank you to everyone who watched as FC Cincinnati began to build their MLS squad. Thanks to all our production staff, our cameraman, Jeff Berding, Alan Koch, Susanna Collins, Bobby Warshaw, Caitlin Carr. I am Andrew Wiebe. Enjoy your Tuesday, everybody. All the news, MLSsoccer.com. We'll see you later.